Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard then to this next round of TPS. This is the Paradox Series, and we are live once again here now in the Temple of Speed. Welcome to Monza. Proud to be alongside you for this one. It is round number 6 of Season 2. Hopefully we're going to be in for an interesting night, as has been seen throughout the cross of TPS. It is only the 11 turns though, 3.59 miles worth of track here. Of course, the infamous circuit where we see the top speeds approaching 240, 250 miles an hour. Of course, keep an eye on those hotspots heading into the Lesmo. We're going to see some fast action racing, of course, Ascari, and never forget Parabolica. Now have a quick look then at the driver lineups that we've got coming up in this event tonight. Paradox are going to be fielding their usual pairing Scyther and Nick racing alongside him tonight with the Fury Racing Association racing with the trusted pairing of Matthew and Stonks after a very good race down in Belgium, managing to bounce back, I think, after VSR. Visceral Esports, Wilson and Smokey racing their usual pairing again. Noctis and Montoya also racing as well after Belgium last week. And then for Roleplay 1 with St. George Esports, also racing with Sam McCabe with Jam Pancakes as well, the usual pairing for the St. George guys, alongside Team Artemis racing with JTO14 and Grunty for the team in green, and Novus racing with Amin and Rev Caterpillar, the usual pairing for them in this tournament. And then we go to ET8. They're struggling tonight. Quantum is racing on his own with a Qualiban, and Oscar not racing at all, with Phoenix and Bobbett's the usual pairing in Continental Racing again after a very good performance down in Belgium. Leopard and Venom racing the usual pairing again for Shazoo. It is a usual lineup of drivers that you would expect in TPS tonight at the Temple of Speed, and it is the usual pairing over in the commentators box. It is Jota alongside AEM Brett. Thank you for being alongside me for this one, Brett. It's going to be a very interesting one if Monza, the history of Monza, has got anything to go by.
Yeah, good evening. It is the same old duo back again, blessing your ears this evening for another night of commentary on the Paradox series. And I'm going to go out there with a prediction straight away. A VSR driver is going to win, and there is precedent for this because Ferrari have 19 wins around Monza. That's the most out of any constructor at any one circuit in F1 history. So with Smokey and Wilson tonight, I think the statistics are in their favour, but obviously in the virtual world of F1, everything can be very different. We've had Williams winning races this season with Cypher and Piersonic, so yeah, whether the stats translate into the virtual game, we will have to find out this evening, but looks very strong from the off. We finally have drivers leaving the pits. I believe it's HSR Grunty who is on, who's the first car out on track for Team Artemis, the boys in green, obviously. Very, very nicely colour coordinated, the green team with the Aston Martin car. Meanwhile, for AlphaTauri of RP1 Noctis as well. And I think tonight will be another night where you will be looking at the likes of PSR, St. George's after jumping into P2 in the championship last time out at Belgium. We'll be interested to see if they can capitalise on their recent strong form and bridge the gap to P3 and P4. Be interesting to see if Stonks and Matthew can bounce back tonight after their clangor of a race last Thursday, dropping them from second in the table. I'll be interested to see what sort of setups people are running tonight, whether people will be using the not so reliable 0-0 wing setup, as we see Grunty have a little bit of wobble out of the exit of just putting the power down. I'm just getting mixed up with my words, but it's a 26.326 at the moment for Grunty, as he will look to put it provisional pole at the moment if it was a short quali session for Artemis.
Of course, it is Q1, and we're going to be heading over, of course, through what is going to be a delightful few qualifying laps. I've got a lovely cup of coffee alongside me to enjoy this one. I hope you guys are also going to be enjoying it as well, with a cup of tea, coffee, whatever beverage that tickles your fancy. Just a quick correction, of course, on my intro earlier. For some reason, my script I've got in front of me says 250 miles per hour. Obviously, it's not as fast as that. We could only wish it was 250. I was going to say, should we say around about 210, 215 miles an hour? Kirby in the chat immediately coming out saying, did that man just say 250? Yes, I did. I don't know why. We'll get that script adjusted. We'll have a quick monitor, shall we say, on Grunty as he comes across the line. Of course, he'll be the first person to set the lap time for 1 minute 19.938. Not the fastest lap that I think we're going to be seeing in this event. Of course, everyone's going to be on that soft tyre for this first initial run. But it gives us an opportunity to talk about all the other drivers that are on the field. You're immediately coming out the block saying VSR, purely because of the heritage of racing with the beautiful red livery that is obviously not being adjusted. Of course, we're back to the old livery on the Ferrari now as of the change of this one, as Noctis comes across line with a 19.8. as we're just keeping an eye on PSR Nick as he's just approaching now into the Ascari chicane. You want to keep it nice and tidy if you can. A couple of things to make note of course, with the update to this game as well. Unfortunately, Spectator have been absolutely, what's the professional way to put it without
shafted.
being... I think buggered would be the best way to describe it. As you can see, and as you can hear, the revs are being absolutely destroyed on these engines, and as such you're probably going to see a long trail of drift lines as well, as Nick will come across lines at the fastest lap of a 19.3 so far. I think one of the other PSR drivers just about to start his lap, actually, Scyther, the American, ever so one of the favourites, you'd have to say, for this race as well. Cracking lap, cracking one lap pace he actually has around here. But yeah, unfortunately the latest update of this game has not been healthy, shall we say, to the generation of drivers out here at the moment. A few bugs here, there and everywhere, and the spectator mode unfortunately also affected, so apologies if that does affect your general viewing of this event, as we're just following at the moment one of the outlaps of the Ferrari of WR Smokey.
Yeah, obviously, you know, we have all the brilliant things in the game. You have it is a lovely new McLaren livery, special edition livery that they use for Singapore and Japan in the game. You have the brilliant podium celebration of the griddy, which you can now hit when you win your 5-lap sprint races to ego your best friends. And you can also, you can experience a plethora of glitches. I believe they did do one thing, and they fixed Parc Ferme, which was, you know, something that they did need to fix. So fair play to them, but just a shame that they've still got a mountain full of issues still to go. I'm just currently on the board with Cypher, who's coming through Parabolica. Now up to the line is the American. It is a 19.1, puts himself P1 at the moment. For Paradox Sim Racing, obviously they'll be wanted to extend their lead at the top of the championship at the moment, or just throughout the whole of tonight. Obviously pole position will be very good tonight for any driver realistically, but PSR just to solidify their lead at the top of the championship. If Cypher and Nick can work together to get a double Q3, which I believe they weren't able to do. I believe there was a couple races ago where PSR didn't have that 2-driver advantage in Q3, and that really hampered them when the likes of FRA did. So I'll be interested to see how the quali sessions go for all these major teams tonight. You mentioned last week about the F1.5 category, in which we probably wrongfully put St George's in, as VSR Wilson goes P3 there. At the moment, Jam Pancakes and McCabe Sam not setting a lap at the moment in their Haas cars. We've got 7 minutes of the session left, so they'll want to be getting at least one lap in to try put themselves up the leaderboard alongside the likes of Cypher, Matthew and Wilson. Stonks with a very good lap with a 1:19.3. Meanwhile, Smokey going P2 there with a 19.2. So it's a very good qualifying at the moment for PSR, VSR and FRA.
Thank you for that long talk. It's allowed me to finish off my coffee, actually, and it was just getting a little bit cold, so I've been able to finish that one off as Jam Pancakes is coming across the Parabolica corner, and obviously cover Parabolica as well. We're going to be seeing a couple of the hotspots of racing here, but the St George Esports driver only going P8 with that 19.7, actually. It is something I wanted to very briefly discuss. We are in Q1, so it's not going to be as action-packed maybe as you would expect, but St George Esports, they've renowned as a driver. Just seen Bobbert's coming across the line, by the way. He's just about to set his lap. He goes up into P11 for CRT. You know, St George Esports have been a team that we know across the community doesn't really take itself seriously. It wants to have a little bit of fun. And obviously, I'm sure if you follow them on Twitter as well, it's absolutely wonderful. Some of the things that they post on there is absolutely fantastic. They are now a force to be reckoned with. You rightfully point out that we put them in the sort of the top of the Formula 1.5 category, but the second place overall after what was an absolutely monumental performance at Belgium, getting that double podium. You know, after what has been, you've got to say as well, it's got to be a valiant effort from the St George Esports team as well, because, you know, Jam Pancakes obviously was trying to catch up with McCabe Sam, and McCabe Sam just held a bunch of drivers up. They all lost time with the penalties. As such, ended up resulting in them getting that podium, double podium in the end. These guys are going to be a force to reckon with later down the line, and I can't see them becoming a serious sort of team, but when it comes to overall pace, they're up there, and they are fighting with the top guys at FRA and PSR.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how you act off track, it's how you perform on the track at the end of the day. St George is known for having some of the best editing in the F1 community, some of the best race evaluation videos that I've ever seen for one. I mean, whilst their drivers sit P10 and 11 at the moment. But yeah, we did put them in that 1.5 category. They could be genuine challengers, and like, don't discredit them for their pace. They're off track. You know, they can waffle as much as they want off the track. They can defend our borders. They can defend our shores. Whatever you want to say about St George's. But, like, you've got the likes of McCabe Sam, who I believe is in for roster for crossover WRV PSGL event, which is coming up soon. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, whether crossplay will make that a enjoyable viewing. Because I'm not too sure how that will end up eventually, but I hold the highest of faith for them, as at the moment there's only a couple of cars out on track. I believe Smokey's coming back into the pit lane, so CRT Phoenix at the moment, he's the only driver not to set a lap, and he is the only driver on a hot lap at the moment.
So let's have a very brief conversation about one of the other teams as well, obviously ET8. Now they're obviously the new boys in the team, obviously taking over the former Velox, as Phoenix just getting a little bit out of shape in the second Lesmo. You know, ETA initially out of the block suggested that they had a little bit of pace behind them, obviously after being swallowed by Velox being swallowed by them. However, it's been a bit of an unfortunate turn of events. The Belgian Grand Prix didn't fall very kindly to the Alfa Romeo team, and Quantum is out on his own tonight, and he can't qualify with that qualifying ban. So they're in a bit of a tricky situation here, having to start from the back. Now, this is Monza. You can overtake here, but the DRS trains are going to be something that people are going to be wanting to keep a very firm eye out on, as Phoenix decides to abandon that lap. It was not a very good lap, to be perfectly candid.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a bit of a tricky situation, to have to say, for ETA.
Yeah, I mean, ETA, obviously, as you mentioned, taking over from Velox Esports, and I believe they have just lost a driver tonight, in terms of their actual team, in terms of Shui, I believe he has departed ETA this evening, so it's getting very difficult for ETA at the moment. Obviously, recently acquiring Velox, but, I mean, if you look in the standings at the moment, they're P9 in the standings, only 7 points off bottom, which is taken up by everyone's favourite community team, Team Artemis. Just have to point that one out. But for ETA tonight, we've seen Jack race a few races. He's not about tonight. He said he could have raced, but he wouldn't have wanted to take the -3 points that you get for a late lineup change. Plus, he wouldn't have had any practice at all, so it's very unfortunate for Osku, who was meant to be racing, but unfortunately having internet issues. Clearly is an Aston Martin there, just getting out of the way and destroying the polystyrene boards there, whilst HSR Amine is on a hot lap as he comes through the first sector of the moment. He's 1.5 tenths nearly up on his time. Is the Belgian driver not having a very good time out in Belgium. Unfortunately, he was the Belgian home hero last time out, let's not forget. So it'll be interesting to see how Amine can bounce back tonight with his teammate, the leader of the Rev Caterpillar fan club himself. It is Rev Caterpillar. He's been in for chat asking what's the cutoff. He needs to know. You're P9 at the moment, mate. I think this might be a bold call, but you might be safe at the moment, Rev Caterpillar. I will just say good evening to some of the people in for chat, Mr. E.T. Oakley and Mr. Jamie Rose, who is a former legend of the Xbox commentary scene back in the days of when BFE was still around. That was a brilliant tournament, but nothing in comparison to the Paradox series. So good evening to Jamie. He will like me to say up for Wick. That's his local cricket team. So I'll give a shout out to them, because we're nice people over at the Paradox series. We love to give mentions whenever possible, as long as it benefits the good of society.
Just going to keep a very firm eye on what's happening on track at the moment. Apologies to sort of barge in on that one as well.
No, it's fine.
Of course, all the chat is just absolutely they're really getting ecstatic out there at the moment. Rev Caterpillar did say, I mentioned the question of 19.6. Is that going to be safe? I'm going to go on the opposite of your opinion and say I don't think he's going to be safe there, because he's only 3/10 faster than the slowest driver out there, which is Shazoo's Venom. So I don't want to say a 19.6 is absolutely safe. He might be okay, but Noctis has just gone faster and pushed him to P11, albeit by just 4 thousandths of a second. So Rev Caterpillar has decided to go out and have another go at this one. St. George are a little bit on the downside as well with their 19.705 and 706. As ever, the team is so glued. They're only separated by a thousandth of a second separating the pair of them. But Artemis, taking off your commentator's head for a moment, Artemis are in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah.
One driver in, one driver out. JT just about to finish his lap here, and he's going to be wanting to keep it steady as Venom has retired. So the Shazoo have already lost a driver after what looks to be a disqualified lap on that particular occasion. So on this head here now, we're going to see how JT does here. It's going to be an opportunity, Nox, if he can try and improve. And it looks like he is going to improve. It comes across the line. It's a 19.6. He's gone just behind Rev Caterpillar as McCabe Sam has gone straight up to 5th place. Good effort from the St. George crew here. Rev Caterpillar now down to 12th place, and he's not going to be improving. Jam Pancakes is calling it quits here. He's not going to go any further. Bobberts can't improve on his lap either. Grunty obviously has just been knocked out of this occasion, so he's down in 16th. Rev Caterpillar won't be improving on his lap either, so he has just managed to get in, albeit by a very, very close margin, only 1/10, 1.11 seconds separating him. As I said, taking off your commentator's hat for a second, putting on your team manager's hat. One driver through, but one driver out.
I mean, I'm just happy we've got a driver into Q2, to be honest with you. We're bottoming for standings at the moment. We're a little bit down on our luck, I will have to say, unfortunately. But we are willing to, I did mention it, I believe, off-stream a couple of weeks ago, that unlike most of the teams where they field their reliable lineups, we're always willing to give drivers a chance. It's Grunty's debut tonight in terms of a no assists event, so I'm happy with him with P16 and out qualifying a Shazoo driver. So he also did have provisional pole after 5 minutes of the session, so he can take that one into a race. And Grunty's a driver that's been he's really been showing brilliant pace in the academy recently, and he's a driver that I know can be reliable in terms of showing up to races and attendance and stuff like that. So I feel like he's deserved it after a strong showing in terms of his multiple tournaments that he's been running in for Artemis Academy. And tonight is really just to see, it's almost a baptism of fire for him, because he was, I will say it on behalf of him, he did have quite a few nerves and felt a bit like a fish out of a shark in, well, not even a shark, just a tadpole in an ocean. He felt very out of his depth coming into tonight looking at the grid, but P16, I'm happy with that for him, and obviously I'm happy for JT getting into Q2 as well. He had a good time out in WOR for qualifying round Monza a couple of weeks ago, so he's hoping to carry that form with him. So it'll be interesting to see what JT can do in Q2. But the 4 drivers that are leaving us this session are HSR Grunty for Artemis, Shazoo Venom surprisingly being knocked out for Team Shazoo, CRT Phoenix not being able to set really a representative lap with that 120.1 with his teammate Bobbers on the cusp, and Quantum taking that qualifying ban for ETA Esports, and obviously his teammate Osku would be P20. We can imagine him being in P20 tonight.
So PSR obviously flying high at the moment. Obviously, they're coming off of the back of what has been a bit of poor form, you'd have to say, the last couple of races. So they're going to need this Italian Grand Prix to sort of set their visions back out and go. And they can afford to have a few mistakes, in fairness to them. They're on 207. Their nearest rival, St. George, on 134. Shazoo's on 110, with Fury down 2 positions from 2nd to 4th on 108. Visceral on 78, followed by Roleplay 1 on 56. So we're in a situation here where, we've got a bunch of drivers all sort of fighting it out pretty closely between 2nd and maybe as far down as 5th. Paradox, the host team, of course, had a really good start to the season, but the middle part has started to suggest they may be beginning to struggle. But the first part of qualifying, trying to get themselves back out and get into the sort of streamer being those front runners. But speaking of front runners, St. George Esports immediately leaving out in the Haas team. At the back of the pit lane, of course, the Haas team, all just going to be very happy indeed to hear that they are now going to have a go at immediately getting into Q2 this time, and getting through to Q3 rather. But Jam Pancakes didn't have the best Q1. He only manages to sneak in from P14, so he needs to find a little bit of consistency out there. But St. George have definitely got the pace, with McCabe Sam managing to get 5th place in there, as well as, of course, Rev Caterpillar in the chat. Very, very briefly, we do want to discuss, or just mention, of course, the unfortunate and very sad incident that happened involving one of our closest colleagues within the commentating community, Beer and Kebab. Awful situation that happened in there, and big respect to Beer and Kebab. We all do stand with him during that awful incident that had occurred, obviously, on the stream in another affiliate league across the Xbox community. So we do wish him and, of course, the league representatives the very best, obviously, through that difficult situation, shall we say. But as it stands at the moment, Q2 just begins, and everyone's just getting the tyres all nice and fresh, ready for what I think is going to be a very interesting Q2.
Yeah, I do just want to add on that. Obviously, Artemis are competitors in the TIR World Series in all 3 tiers. They're both assist 2s tiers and their big 2s no assist tiers. And Beer has been a reliable streamer, and he has been in the community. I only came across him a year or so ago, but he is a good person at the end of the day, and I don't think, whether you're a good person or you're not a good person, you don't deserve that sort of stuff to happen in your streams. And I think in terms of his league, TIR, his esports team, TIR, his, TIR World Series, obviously, he is a pillar of the community in terms of how influential he is in terms of what he runs and how he runs it. So obviously our best wishes go out to Beer, and hopefully he can dust off whatever impact that incident had on him, and we hope to see him soon commentating over esports events, league events, and whatever he does. I do know he recently tried to dabble his hand into the art of racing. I don't want to say not very well, but he is a commentator heart and heart. He has got so many years of experience of watching F1 as well, and he really shows that during his commentary. So obviously best wishes go out to Beer. But back to the racing action. McCabe Sam has just come round Parabolica. He's coming up to the line now, and it's a 19.9 for McCabe Sam. So the same time that Grunty did, funnily enough, to start off Q2. So whether track conditions have changed, Amine Gun P1 there with a 119.886. Wilson, with a 20.0. And there's Cypher with a 19.7 for track. I don't know whether it's lost some temperature going into Q2. I know you have a form of weather system on one of your monitors, whether you can tell us anything about it.
Yeah, no, I've had a very quick look, and there's nothing on my screen to suggest that the track temperature or air temperature has gone down. It remains at the moment at 28 degrees, so the temperature out there at the moment has remained steady, so I'm not sure as to why the track has got a little bit green out there, but PSR Nick will be the next person to set a lap around here, as we do go on a lap actually with the PSR team now. Of course, they're looking on the back of a couple of poor racers are the Paradox Sim team, as they'll now head through into the Variante di Rettifilio, and they want to keep it nice and tidy. And again, really unfortunate that we have to deal with the engines revving to the maximum revs until we get to 7th gear. That's the unfortunate nature of how Codemasters have put things together, as FRA Songs started to find a little bit of time, 19.4, as we then head into a very, very poorly taken Variante della Rogier chicane from PSR Nick, and that will be the end of his qualifying lap on that particular occasion. So it does look like to me the drivers are just struggling a little bit, maybe with some grip out there at the moment. Maybe they can't switch the tyres on immediately out of the blocks, but the conditions out there suggest things are actually relatively okay.
Yeah, I mean, EJ Jack has just raised a very good point of that they could be on used tyres at the moment. Obviously it's a bit difficult for us because it says that the tyres are 0 laps old. We obviously interpret that as them being fresh tyres, but with the game, as you mentioned in Q1, with the spectator glitches at the moment, that could just be another glitch that's been put into the game, that, tyres get somehow reset on how many laps they've done, and it would be very unfortunate if it is used tyres, because we have just complained about the drivers potentially being slower than they usually would be. Obviously that's not to discredit the drivers, they're all very talented. I had to step in last second for a no assist race for Artemis on Sunday. I don't know how any of these drivers do it, in all honesty, because it is so difficult to race without a braking without a racing line to figure out your braking points lap by lap. And one thing that I really have to give drivers a credit for, which has been implemented in this game, is warming the tyres up after a pit stop, because oh my goodness, it's incredibly difficult to do, I can't lie. And I'm just glad I'm purely a manager and not a racer, because I don't know how these people do it. Obviously very talented, devoted a lot of time and effort into learning the game, as drivers heading into the pits there. Drivers that haven't set a lap, so Jam Pancake's just heading into the pit lane there. LCR Leopard, he hasn't set a time at the moment, but he is coming through Sector 1 now, is the Team Shazoo driver, obviously the only Shazoo driver left in the session. So he comes to turns 4 and 5 as he comes now up to the Lesmos. Takes the first Lesmo nice and maximising on the exit, 5th gear into 6th gear, revving out in 6th gear, down into 5th gear, into Lesmo 2, and power down 2nd DRS straight off the lap here, 2 DRS straights, obviously the first one being down for start, finish straight, and the second one being right there, coming into the Ascari chicane. Very good at the moment from LCR Leopard. He did have a purple sector 2 on my screen. I'm not sure whether that's representative or yet another glitch on the game, but he comes to the Curva Parabolica now, turn 11, and the final turn of this beautiful historic circuit. What can LCR Leopard do for Seoul's Team Shazoo driver? It's P2 for LCR Leopard with a 1:19.391, so a very good lap there from the Seoul Team Shazoo driver, and he'll be looking to place his Mercedes into Q3 with some ease.
Good lap indeed from the LCR Leopard. He's managed to come across the line with that 19.3. Good lap indeed, as we'll keep an eye on all the other drivers. We're going to have a look on AEM actually, as the Artemis driver comes across the line P4 for JTO 40. Red Caterpillar just sneaking in behind with a 19.5 of himself, separated by just a bit under 3 hundredths of a second in that particular realm, shall we say. We've got WR Smokey just starting a lap as well, as he now heads into the Rettifilio chicane. I want to keep it nice and tidy. Will the Ferrari, and he actually ticks it quite well. Unfortunately, we are going to have the engine revving at its absolute max until we get beyond 7th gear. However, he'll keep it nice and tidy as he'll head through Curva Grande before he heads into the Della Roggia chicane. We've seen a few people make a few mistakes here through here. It was only 26.2 for Smoke. It's a bit more of a conservative lap time in the first instance, but very, very well taken Della Roggia. And as he heads into the Lesmos, he'll want to keep it as close as he can off of the track and on the white line. He absolutely holds as he'll go into the second Lesmo, very well tidy as well. So obviously taking a more conservative first sector in the hoping that he'll be able to make it up in the Lesmos. We've seen two really options as regards of strategy when it comes to the setups. Are they going to focus in the second, or are they going to focus in the first and the third sector? And it looks to me as if they are going to be keeping their eye out on the second sector. The VSR team, Smokey, we're hoping to try and beat Wilson if he can. 20.0 so far for Wilson, so quite far down, you'd have to say. CRT also down with their 20.3. But Smokey will keep it nice and tidy as he'll head down the final straight and keep it nice and tidy for P4 as it goes above Stonks with a 19.4. Good lap indeed from VSR, as we'll just keep an eye out on Jam Pancakes, who's now just heading into the Della Roggia chicane.
Yep, be interesting to see how Jam Pancakes is doing on his lap. 26.1, his first sector there, coming into the first Lesmo. 5th gear for him. Cypher going provisional pole with a 1:19.002. So we're getting close to the 1:18s here, but Jam Pancakes has invalidated his lap time, extending on the exit of the second Lesmo there. Very unfortunate for him. WR Wilson for VSR has just started another lap on a used set of softs. It's a 26.1 coming through the first sector, but all for lockups on those front tyres going into the second chicane of the lap. They're not very healthy if you're on used tyres. Takes the first Lesmo very well, to be fair to him. Can he not track extend on the exit for second Lesmo? He does not. DRS is now activated for VSR Wilson. What time can he do coming up to the Sector 2 timing line? Yellow flags being flown at the moment just for drivers getting out of the way on laps. It's 5.6 tenths up, but that is a track extension from Wilson on my screen. He has just cut the corner now. I'm not sure whether he is backing out of this lap or whether he is completing it. He was 5.5 tenths up, so he might be able to still set this lap and improve on it, but I'm not too sure because I think all 4 tyres did go over for white line there. He is pulling it into the pit lane, is Wilson. Disregarding the speed limit there is the visceral racing driver, and he'll want to get out quite quickly because although there being 4 minutes left in the session, his teammate VSR Smokey is in P6 and he's coming into the pits as well. You mentioned it was the Q1 cutoff of Rev Caterpillar with that 0.6, and you questioned my thinking of whether it will be enough. And you know what? I'm going to question my own thinking here. I'm going to think that 0.4 might not be enough. I'm putting it out there. It's a very bold call.
We've got people within 19.8s, 19.9s, and one on a 20.0. That should be, let's be honest, considerably faster. Sam McCabe, WR Wilson, and Mine is usually a bit faster than that. CRT struggling a little bit with the 19.8. You probably expect would get you through, especially when we were still waiting on one of the St. George Esports drivers and one of the RP1s in Noctis yet to set a proper lap time in Q2, and this will be the one and only lap time they're going to actually get here, so they're going to struggle. Are the fielders towards the back here. Scyther retires early for the second time in a row here, looking to take another top fastest lap. She was in the qualifying session here as we're just following here. FRA Stonks getting a nice little tow actually from Matthew in a weird spot, heading into the De La Rogier chicane is where they were going to be heading on a tow instead of heading down into the Rettifilio. So a bit of a shocking sort of turn of events, you'd have to say, actually, for that one, because you're not going to maximise your lap time giving the tow down the Curva Grande into De La Rogier. So, interesting call from FRA on that particular occasion, but Stonks is looking to try and improve a little bit, and he has found a 10th in the second sector, and a very, very well taken Ascari actually going through turn 10, and he'll keep it nice and tidy, and he'll hope that Curva Parabolica works out very well for him here, because he's looking like he's going to gain at least a little bit of time, maybe on LCR Leopard and Montoya. Probably not as fast as Nick as it stands, though. We'll have to see how Parabolica is for the FRA driver. He'll keep it nice and tidy to the inside line, and he'll come across the line, will the FRA driver, and does beat Montoya and doesn't beat Nick with 19.2 for FRA. So we're back to the status quo. FRA and PSR fighting it out for the fastest, with Shazu's LCR Leopard on an outlap looking to try and improve. He might sneak in there as well.
Yeah, you point out about for tow to the De La Rogier chicane. I did see it implemented by PSR in qualifying 1, so it might actually be for preferred place to tow. Very odd coming round for Curva Grande to give that tow, but I guess whatever works best for these teams. Just Stonks returning for tow there to his teammate Matthew, and he'll look to get P1 in Q2 at the moment. Yeah, you did mention as well, a lot of drivers not really shown for pace that you'd expect from them, for likes of Amine, Jam Pancakes, Noctis, yet to, Noctis and Jam Pancakes yet to set laps times. Amine going P8 there with a 1:19.45. But that might not be enough for Amine at the moment, as we have all the cars below him either on outlaps or ready to set a lap. McCabe Sam, he has invalidated his lap, so I don't know how long he has left of the session to get round, because it isn't telling me he's got 38 seconds yet. I think he might be able to get a lap in there as he starts his other lap there. VSR Wilson 2.5 temps up at the moment. He'll be wanting to perfect the Ascari chicane, because he wasn't able to last time out. RP1 Noctis, he's coming through the Curva Grande now, is the Roleplay 1 driver. So ESV Bobbers, he's coming up to the line now in the Red Bull for Seoul. CRT driver, but he was actually just starting a hot lap, so the game front me with brilliant analysis there yet again. We will stay on board with Wilson, because he's 5.5 temps up yet again, so it'll be interesting to see if Wilson can get above his teammate Smokey here and aim for 0.3. I think he'd want. Yep, and that's a 0.3 is what he gets. It's P6 for VSR Wilson, and I think he might be safe. As his teammate Smokey's over 2.5 temps up at the moment. After Sector 2, LCR Leopard a temp up after Sector 1. AMJT's up a temp after Sector 1 as well. He's on for cuff. Rev Caterpillar, he is out. He's retired up the exit of the first Lesmo. Has Rev Caterpillar, so he will not be making it into Q3 today. Unfortunately for him, I believe he was out in Q1 last time. RP1 Noctis going P10 there with a 19.492. And with the likes of JT, Bobbitts is invalidated. He will not be improving. McCabe Sam in P5 there with a 119.225. So McCabe Sam is safely through. Jam Pancakes, he's coming through Sector 2 now. What can JT do? Coming up to the line now is the AEM driver. Can he improve? Can he put himself in the top 10? It's P8 for JT. A brilliant lap there for the Artemis driver, and I believe that means he will be through into Q3 as Bobbitts comes into the pit. Amine and Rev Caterpillar are out, and Jam Pancakes, he doesn't make it through into Q3. So a shocker of the qualifying there for Jam Pancakes. He qualified P14 after Q1, and he's P11 in Q2. VSR Wilson just surviving in P10 there.
Yeah, shocking stuff that actually. WR Wilson will be breathing a sigh of relief for VSR, just managing to sneak in by 19 thousandths of a second. So VSR nearly losing another driver out of a Q2 session. But as it stands so far, it is Scyther for PSR, the American hero himself, leading the way for the second time in this qualifying session, with Smokey for VSR in second place, and then FRA Matthew followed by Shazoo third and fourth through Leopard, PSR in fifth, and then McCabe Sam managing to get through to qualifying 3 with Stonks also through for FRA. Artemis will be happy to hear that they've got a driver through in 8th. RP1 have got one through in Montoya in 9th. And Wilson rounding out the top 10, as we said earlier. Red Caterpillar obviously knocked out down in P14. And the cut-off point was actually just outside of the 19.4s. So that 19.5 prediction probably not a bad call, to say the least. Let's have a quick look then and see as we now head through into Q3. Conditions are best described as not very good. They are struggling a little bit with the grip out there at the moment, and the drivers have now just got to adapt and get themselves ready for this fight for pole position. Early indications suggesting PSR fielding Scyther was a good shout. We do know that Scyther likes, I believe, Monza, from what I am aware of. So this is an opportunity for him to get on the front row and certainly a pole position at a track that he likes. But it's all going to be about turn 1, because Del Retafilio is absolutely going to be a hot spot going into turn 1 on lap 1.
Yeah, something that's just been pointed out in the drivers' chat and has been mentioned to be by Loveland, one of the beautiful co-owners of the Paradox series, that apparently a brake board got taken out in turn 4. So coming to the De La Rocha chicane, that's obviously very bad brake board to go in terms of your lap, because it's a harsh braking zone. One of only a couple around the lap. Obviously, you've got your 3 chicanes there where you will have a hard braking zone on your hot lap. So if there was to be a brake board taken out, I believe it is quite a hefty penalty. If you do take out a brake board, obviously these no assist drivers without the racing line, so they've got to pick their spot, and obviously the brake markers, so helpful in terms of referencing where you are. In terms of where you're braking, what point you're braking. I don't know whether there was a 150 board there anyway, but there's a 100 and a 50. There is a DRS board there. I'm just going to keep on looking around for DRS boards, as PSR Nick is the first one out on track at the moment. One thing that we can touch on is for drivers that you normally wouldn't see in Q3, for likes of JT and maybe Montoya, have they potentially burned all their soft sets in an attempt to get into Q3, or will they have saved a set of softs somewhere in Q2 or Q1 and been able to have an extra set ready to go and just set their provisional first lap on one set of soft tyres? Obviously, it feels so long ago since the rules of F1 2021, where you'd start on the tyre that you did Q2 on. We don't have that anymore. Obviously, you have the free choice of tyre at the start, hence why a lot of drivers choose hards on this game to start their race. And as we pointed out on in Q2 for tow into the De La Rocha chicane, it's very popular because PSR Nick has just been given a tow by his teammate Cypher. So obviously that is the place to tow if you want to tow, and I've said to tow very lot. It's quite hard to say in quite a short burst of time, I can't lie. But at the moment we have PSR Nick. He is the first driver that will set a lap time. It is a 52.319 coming through sector 2 for Nick. Oh, and he gets all out of sorts. It's a spin for PSR Nick coming out of the starry chicane. one of the most difficult chicanes to do on the game in terms of how aggressive the curbs can be. And PSR Nick reeling the effects there of how dangerous those curbs can be, just putting the power down a bit too early there, and unfortunately causing a spin for himself. I believe Cypher will just have to back out a little bit. But here's the issue that we have at the moment. There's an FRA driver of Matthew splitting for two PSR drivers of Cypher and Nick. So Nick going P2 there with a 130.444 and Stokes going P1 with a 119.148. We might be seeing for we might even be seeing for likes of 118s coming out in Q3 here as RP1 Montoya with a 119.196. Nick has just about gotten out the way of Matthew there, and he will be able to give his teammate Cypher a tow. So I was debating whether they would be able to give each other a tow, but it's worked out well for them. Cypher backed off a little bit more on his lap, so he would be able to. So yeah, I will let you commentate for the rest of these laps with Matthew and Cypher currently on their hot laps.
Very interesting, to say the least. I'm just going to be keeping an eye out on Smokey, actually, if you don't mind, because I know that everyone is obviously on their laps at the moment and just keeping a very firm eye, but it's all going to be about what Smokey can do here, because he got second place versus Cypher in Q2, so he's going to be one of the main challengers to this one. So Smokey's a little bit out of kilter, you'd have to say, with the rest of the team here, because with the rest of the drivers, rather, sorry, because no disrespect, of course, to Wilson, because Wilson is renowned to be an incredibly quick driver. Remember, back in the CIR IRL days, him alongside Alfie were a god tier team back in the day. Wilson absolutely flew high, and he's obviously got pole as it stands at the moment, but Smokey seems to be the quicker driver as it stands at the moment. As Matthew goes even faster with that 19.0, we are going to be dipping into the 18s because Cypher has just come across the line with that 18.8, but I am very conscious about what Smokey's going to do here, because according to my timing streams anyway, he did set a faster first sector than Cypher, but a slower second sector by around a couple of tenths, so he's obviously focusing, looks like he is focusing on the faster lines through first and third sector as opposed to the second sector that I thought he was going through into Q2. We'll see how he goes then through Parabolica, where he'll keep it nice and tidy to that inside line, and the Ferrari will just want to keep it nice and tidy. It's been a bit of a slow exit, to be honest with you, coming out of there, but he does get into the 18s. He's one of two drivers alongside Cypher to get into the 18s, but only lost by just a little bit over a tenth of a second, as we just follow Artemis's driver JTO40 on an invalid lap, so he'll have another go on this particular occasion, as McCabe Sam does manage to reconnect into the session, thankfully. So St. George Esports have a small shout at trying to get pole position, as we just keep an eye out on Shazoo's LCR Leopard. He's been a bit of a quiet driver, to be honest with you, in this, as the German hero. He's been absolutely wonderful to watch throughout, let's be honest, this exact tournament, to be honest with you. LCR Leopard has been sort of a bit of a dark horse through every race that ever happens, and he is going to be one to watch throughout this season, assuming that all of the leagues can actually survive this atrocious game. Let's be perfectly candid as we head through this first Lesmo into the second Lesmo. His first sector lap time was comparable of that of Matthews so far, so he is looking in the sort of P3, P4 range, so maybe just breaching into the 18s if he's lucky. If not, it will be one of the 19.0s and be a 19.1. Second sector, yeah, around about sort of Matthews time as well, as they now keep it steady through Ascari, and Matthew becomes a little bit more than some of the other drivers dare do so he's obviously putting a little bit more pressure on the car to try and hold on, and he'll keep it steady heading through into Parabolica, where we'll see the Shazoo driver obviously set his final lap time. It was a little bit of a slow exit coming out of Parabolica for Smokey, but a lot cleaner for LCR Leopard, as he'll keep it nice and tidy to the inside line and just hooks in behind Ferrari Matthew by 66 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, well, you've touched upon LCR Leopard's outstanding season thus far in the Paradox Series. Obviously, the managers at Shazoo, they hate me mentioning it every week, but they qualified P11 for this tournament. They didn't partake in the first race at Bahrain. They obviously got in at Saudi Arabia due to the downfall of World Online Racing Esports. Yeah, just in case you are a first-time viewer this evening, it is Visceral Racing in the Ferraris, not World Online Racing Esports. I feel like we do just have to point that one out. Unfortunately, I know Smokey doesn't have a VSR gamer tag because Crispy famously took it, allegedly, and I don't know whether Wilson is just waiting for an £8 gift card from the higher-ups at Visceral Racing to get a gamer tag change, because I know this seems a a little bit odd because I'm a manager of a guy that's racing tonight with HSR in his three-letter tag, but it makes it very difficult for commentators sometimes. I sometimes just find myself going, PSR, WR, VSR, Wilson sometimes, just trying to remember what team he is in. And that's not, a bad thing necessarily. It just makes it difficult for us commentators sometimes. I don't know whether you feel the same sometimes. Obviously, you've got, your scripts and everything that you have out in front of you to remember what teams certain drivers on. But do you ever just slip into the habit of a driver calling them by their wrong team? Don't know whether your microphone has gone missing for a few seconds, Jota. But,
I do hope we can get that sorted eventually. There we go. I think we're back up and running now on that one.
I can hear you again.
I'm just keeping a firm eye on PSR and Nick actually as this is all happening. But yeah, I think the WOR team, we don't want people to think that the WOR team has been absorbed by VSR, because the truth of the matter is there's a lot of the drivers from WOR dispersed to different teams, and that's why I personally made the creative decision to give them the VSR tag on that occasion. However, the WOR team in instance, obviously it's a bit disappointing that they had to depart the tournament. But in the end, we ended up having a very, very good Team Shizou join us, and they have really spiced up the affair despite finishing 11th, and finishing sort of starting later. They're third in the standings with 110 points. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what they've got ahead of us. While this is all happening, by the way, Nick is in a bit of trouble for PSR. 1 minute 30.4 is obviously a slow lap after making a mistake. Has invalidated his second run, and now he's going to be on potentially 2-lap-old soft tyres by the end of the lap to have a go at this one. Though he has full ERS available at his disposal, he will have another go at this one. A couple of other drivers yet to set a lap as well. Obviously your team Artemis yet to set a lap with JTO40, and Sam McCabe still struggling out there at the moment. It's been a little bit of a tumultuous time actually for St George Esports, not replicating the excellent performance so far last week, with Sam McCabe still in 9th place yet to set a lap, and actually is only just getting into the second sector, so he's under a little bit of a trouble here of even getting to the start finishing line if he doesn't hurry up, you'd have to say, as we're just keeping an eye on Montoya as he's looking to try and set a lap time and improve on his 1 minute 19.1. He'll come across the line and get into the 18.8s himself, and only just missing out on a provisional pole by 0.02 of a second. Good lap time from the French team Roleplay 1, and out of nowhere Roleplay 1 have suggested they're going to have a bit of pace here. Wilson is looking to improve as well, and he'll only go third behind Roleplay 1's Montoya, so Montoya's had an absolute
right, I don't really know what to say about what's just happened there. Hopefully Jota can get his microphone issues sorted quickly, but I will take you through the rest of Q3 then. At the moment, Cypher, he is a 10th up coming through Sector 2. What can Cypher do? Coming up to the line. The PSR driver is a 18.7, 1-3. It's provisional pole for the American for PSR Nick. He is going with a 128.8. He will not be setting a quicker lap time this evening, as the checkered flag falls for everyone. RP1 Montoya will be the first car round. There is a driver who, I don't know whether there was a car round there, I'm not too sure, just flicking through the timing screens. RP1 Montoya not improving. FRA Stokes not improving. FRA Matthew, he's the next driver to come across the line to set a representative lap time. Can Matthew beat Cypher for pole position? He's got 19.0 at the moment. What can FRA Matthew do? It's P2 for the Fury Racing Association driver, as it's a tenth's difference between him and Cypher at the moment. FRA Stoggs pulling into the pits there. JT going P8 there with a 19.0. And Mercedes coming across the line now. It's LCR Leopard with an 18.897. VSR Smokey there with an 18.7, moving himself up into P2. And that will conclude Q3 as the American Cypher, who does a little bit of a weave coming up to the Parabolica. It's Cypher on pole for PSR round Monza.
To be expected, to be honest with you, as Cypher qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, flying high for the American, and I'll be certainly extremely happy indeed to take that pole position, followed on by WR Smokey again, applying the pressure on PSR, but in the end the VSR driver wasn't able to capitalise on what was a very good qualifying performance, but it will be a front row start for a Ferrari at Monza, which is certainly going to be very happy for the virtual crowd out there. So let's take a very quick look at those. Very well, it's going to be the end of qualifying, of course. So these are the results and the grid that we've got coming up ahead of us. So Cypher cracking pole position in the end. Will be very happy indeed to take pole position, beating the VSR driver Smokey by just over 71 thousandths of a second, with Matthew finishing with a point. That's a lap time that's about a tenth slower as well. Increasingly very, very interesting ahead of us with role player 1 on the second row of the grid with their Montoya driver. Very, very happy indeed with that 18.8. 18.8 as well for Leopard, but just on the third row in 5th place, with Wilson in 6th, Stonks in 7th, JT for Artemis will be happy to be in 8th place, with PSR Nick not getting a good lap time in at all with the 128.8. He starts in 9th, and McCabe Sam didn't even get a good turn 1 on his final go. He kept doing donuts coming out of turn 2, and he starts in 10th place alongside his teammate in 11th. So that gives us a very brief period to very briefly discuss what we've got ahead of us. A very interesting race with some teams that were towards the front last week now in the midfield, and those that were in the midfield now back at the front again.
Yeah, obviously, Monza and Belgium are two tracks that you don't really see, surprisingly, a lot of setup changes. A lot of people that tend to run very, very low wings around those two tracks due to the nature of the straights. Obviously, with Monza, it has a 12.8 meter elevation change. And if I just go back to my Belgium track notes, yeah, a 102.2 meter elevation change. So two very different tracks in terms of their elevations and how far up and down you go in terms of the stratosphere, and obviously very different circuits in terms of how flat they are. You've got Monza here. You've set an average speed of 159.8 miles an hour, and on my screen here, I've got a race lap record, a 121.046 set by Rubens Barrichello in that beautiful, in the beautiful 2004 cars with the beautiful engines in the back of them. Brilliant times they were for F1, because you just love to hear the old school engines get fired up. I always used to love playing on the classic cars back in the day when they were still a thing on the game, and I'd always have the F2004, I'd have the 2009 Brawn as well. Those were two absolutely beautiful cars to do races in, I can't lie. And I think tonight we will potentially see that 121.046 go out the window in terms of race lap records around Monza, because I feel like even if there is a driver that is down on their luck tonight in a lowly position, top 15 receiving points in the Paradox Series, so a driver could just pit from P14 to P15 and try and get themselves a fastest lap point to go on for lovely spreadsheets provided by Oliver Loveland, and just to have their name in purple lights.
Looking forward to seeing what we've got coming up. We'll be back very shortly for our continued coverage of this event in Italy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen across the world. We're back for the Paradox Series. This is the Italian Grand Prix. Glad that you could be alongside us for this one here at the Temple of Speed. Welcome to Monza, and we are going to be in for a very interesting race ahead of us. Of course, those that were towards the front last week are now towards the midfield, and those in the midfield are now towards the front. But in this circuit, we've got 11 turns and 3.5 miles of racing, with those two DRS zones, of course, going to bring racing up to 210, maybe even 215 miles an hour. And the hotspots for racing, of course, going to be in and around Ascari, and of course, don't forget forget, of course, the Della Relativilio chicane. Let's take a quick look then at what we've got coming up as regards to the driver lineups ahead of us. We do have a very interesting race ahead of us with PSR. Scyther is on pole position, but Nick in the midfield at the moment, down in the third row, with Matthew and Stonks racing very well at the moment for the Fury Racing Association. And then in third place, Visceral are racing with Wilson and Smokey. Smokey looking very quick around here tonight, with Role Player 1's Montoya also looking very quick. Knocked out of Q2. McCabe Sam, Jam Pancakes, not the best run from St. George Esports, 10th and 11th place for them respectively, with Team Artemis flying with JTO40 managing to get through to Q3 but Grantley out in Q1. Novus looking sharp with Amina and Rev Caterpillar. Rev Caterpillar down in 14th place, looking to bounce back after a Q2 exit, with Quantum racing on his own after a qualifying ban starting in 19th. Oscu is out. Phoenix and Bobbers racing for CRT tonight. They're going to be happy with their continual performances with the CRT team. And of course, Leopard and Venom forever the drivers that are showing the biggest pace around for Team Shazoo. It is myself, Jota, alongside Brett tonight for this race here in Monza. Hopefully, we're going to be in for a very interesting race ahead of us. We do have a very, very sort of tight scenario happening where we've got the midfielders towards the front runners then towards the midfield compared to last week. It's going to make for some very hot racing.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to how this is going this evening. FRA Stonks there leaving for session, as well as Shazoo Venom. I don't know whether there's a restart being called. Let me just... Oh, yep, there is a restart. Apparently McCabe Sam's Xbox is having quite a few issues in terms of things, in terms of like how it went a few weeks ago. Obviously, we do have precedent for restarts, so it would be unfair to not grant a restart for McCabe Sam this evening due to his Xbox having issues. I believe that is why he was leaving mid-qualifying, because he just had multiple issues. So I guess we will go back for screens, and we'll catch up with you shortly when we have another update.
Yeah, we'll be back very shortly as we continue coverage of this race. We'll go ahead in just a few short moments. Back in a few. folks, we're still continuing on with this coverage of the Italian Grand Prix. We are just setting the lobby up, getting everyone in the session, get them on the grid, and then we'll get racing. We'll be back very shortly. Keep an eye out on the stream. In the meantime, here's the music. Hey there folks, we're continuing on with the slight delay as we just tried to get this lobby all set up and ready. We are all ready to go and the drivers are readying up. We'll be back very shortly for this continued coverage of the Italian Grand Prix. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to TPS. This is the Paradox Series, and we are live for the Italian Grand Prix. Welcome to the Temple of Speed in this round number 6 of Season 2, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Apologies for the technical issues. Once again, co-masters at their finest, but for the third time, we talk about Monza. This is an 11-turn track with 3.59 miles worth of circuit, 2 DRS zones that could bring speeds up to 215 miles per hour. With those corners, of course, keep an eye out on turns 1, 2, maybe even turn 7, but certainly turns 8 through 10 Ascari. They're going to be the hot spots for racing, and those that are going to be racing in those hot spots are the drivers in this lineup. It is going to be racing with Paradox Sim Racing at the front, with Scyther leading from pole position, Nick in the midfield after a very good pole position from the American racer. We're happy to get pole. FRA racing Matthew and Stonks, the pairing of FRA showing some real pace tonight, as is Smokey for Wilson and VSR, as well as we will be very happy with their racing performance so far. RP1 Montoya, what a lap time from him indeed in qualifying. He starts in the second row with Noctis, also racing tonight for role player 1 St George. Not the best qualifying from them though. The front runners in Belgium, now the midfield runners are the two usual pairings, with GTO 40 for Artemis racing with Grunty tonight. Novus racing with Amin and Rev Caterpillar, and their usual sign-ups. 14th place though on the way in the midfield for Caterpillar. Quantum on his own tonight, serving a qualifying ban for ETA. Oscu not racing. Phoenix and Bobberts, the usual pairing for CRT, also racing very nicely tonight for CRT. And Team Shazoo, the team coming in later in this championship, 4th place overall, Leopard and Venom racing for them. It is myself, Jota, the usual pairing alongside Brett tonight. It is going to be a very interesting event ahead of us in the Monza, the Temple of Speed. It's been a little bit of a tricky start though, unfortunately. Once again, Codemasters at their finest. Means we've had to commit to a restart.
Yeah, it has been a difficult start to proceedings this evening. You know, you get everything right for stream on before Q1 starting, everything. It seems to be all going swimmingly, going perfectly well, and then, you know, Codemasters strikes while the iron is, you know, piping hot, and we have to go into a restart, unfortunately. We should be all good now. We have set out the grid to its original order, and the fact that it was midday in terms of the time, and the fact that the race was bone dry, not a rain cloud in sight at the moment. So, be interesting to see how everyone gets on tonight. Everyone, according to my race director, is opting for the hard tyres at the start. No one electing to choose for mediums, so I think it is just going to be another case of a hard-medium strategy. Round Monza tends to be a hard-medium around every track. Nowadays, I remember for days of last game you wouldn't normally get restarts every single race, and even that game was bad, but I remember the usual strategy being soft medium, but obviously you had to start on the softs if you were top 10, or if you were that quick you could just start on mediums because you're quick enough to get into mediums in Q3. But I digress. It's going to be an absolutely brilliant night of racing. I pointed out in the intro credits coming into the start of Q1 that Ferrari, 19 wins around Monza, for most by any constructor around a specific circuit. With VSR Smokey P2 this evening, could he, you know, replicate the likes of Charles Leclerc in 2019 with that wonderful drive, with that suspicious engine, we shall call it, for Ferrari that year, for that second part of the season? Will we see art imitating life, or should I say life imitating art, with Smokey potentially getting a win tonight. Obviously, it's what he would want. It's what Visceral Racing would want this evening, as they are in for mid-pack in the standings at the moment. I will just take a quick look there. Yep, they are right bang in the middle, P5. In this championship after a 32 points haul last time out. They do have a 30-point gap to Fury Racing Association, who are P3 and P7 this evening with Stonks and Matthew. It'll be interesting to see how the likes of St George's can do in that mid-pack 10th and 11th for them. Novus tonight, poor qualifying from them in 12th and 14th for Amine and Rev Caterpillar. Be interesting to see how this race pans out, and I, for one, cannot wait to get it started. We will be going straight into a race, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Paradox Series, and we are around Monza.
Here we go then, the drivers are lined up. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a... Go, the drivers, here they are, I hope. Anyway, they're still on the screen, completely frozen for me, and they're off, and here we go then. So we've got the Williams driver, that is the PSR of Scyther, just trying to keep it nice and tidy from WOR Smokey, as FRA Matthew is actually posing a little bit of a challenge around the outside, heading into turn 1, as he is going to keep his car planted right there and then, and Smokey's still under pressure from FRA Matthew, who gets the jump and puts himself into the second place. Now tries to challenge Cypher, who's been on it all the way through this race indeed, and throughout this entire race weekend actually for that matter, as WR Wilson, the VSR driver racing with role player 1's Montoya. Montoya surely is going to have to yield here, because that position is going to be over and done with, and that's LCR Leopard getting into a bit of a half spin there. It looks like it's a little bit of a tank slapper, I'm not sure, looks like maybe a bit of a disconnection, heading through the De La Rogier chicane into the Lesmos, then PSR Nick trying to close down the gap on FRA Stonks in 6th place. It's been a good effort so far from PSR Nick, getting 2 positions after a poor qualifying, and look at the St George Esports team. They'll be going to be very happy indeed to hear that they've gained 1 and 3 respectively. The only issue, CRT is battling hard with Shazoo as Leopard here as he gets around the outside line and holds on to the 5 positions that he's gained so far. Shazoo not having the best run, down 6 but up 5 with Venom.
Yeah, very poor start for LCR Leopard, AEM, JT and HSR Amine, all down 6 positions there for all 3 of those drivers, as Roberts and LCR Leopard, Leopard going down the inside at Parabolica, AMJT getting past Red Caterpillar there as well. I saw Red go wide there out of Parabolica, maybe to get a straighter line coming into turns 1 and 2. JT cutting off the inside line there for him, but Rev Caterpillar, he's going late on the brakes there. LCR Leopard, he's cut the track there. No, it's Shazoo Venom. So I don't know what's happened there. Venom going very slowly, but him and JT are going to go side by side here. Through the Curva Grande we go. JT just tucking in behind Shazoo Venom at the moment. LCR Leopard getting past Jam Pancakes at the moment. And that's a brilliant move there, but it could be a potential switchback as LCR Leopard has potentially gone deep. Jam Pancakes, he's going to take the inside line into the first Lesmo. Lots of racing room left there by the 2 drivers. They're still going side by side to the second Lesmo, but LCR Leopard taking the line there, but he's had a bit of a wobble on the exit, which has promoted ESV Bobbers into a potential position to overtake Jam Pancakes 44 here. Coming up to Ascari Chicane, will there be any moves being made here by any of the drivers? No, they are in formation, but one thing to note about Monza, DRS trains are essential. ESV Bobbers maybe taking a track extension there out of the Ascari Chicane. ET8 Quantum, after his qualifying ban, up 6 positions there, overtaking AM JT 040, but JT, he's going to bounce back and he's going to try overtake Quantum again into Parabolica. You have the inside line, DRS is now activated into lap 3. JT gets the position back, but they are side by side, the ET8 and AEM driver coming into the opening chicane. Will they leave each other adequate space? JT electing for the inside line, Quantum the outside line, Quantum breaking later if we have the inside line into turn 2, and that is, a little bit of contact made. The Caterpillar is going to try to get past JT there. He's a bit out of sorts coming out of the corner, but Quantum getting the move on JT, as well as Red Caterpillar for Novus Racing, and Noxus getting past JT as well. Meanwhile, FRA Stonks and PSR Nick. PSR Nick is down a couple of positions because PSR Nick has spun, and Branty's just gone off track there to avoid maybe a collision there, just in case there was ghosting off. But Nick has fallen to the back of the grid, unfortunately for Paradox Sim Racing, the tournament leaders at the moment, but they have a driver in P1, but unfortunately for them, a driver in P19 in dead last.
Situation report then for those around the field at the moment. Jan McCabe, wow, I'll mix them together. Sam McCabe in 7th place at the moment, working a treat at the moment for the St. George Esports team at the moment, up 3 and up 2 respectively for each of them, but that battle with LCR Leopard and Jam Pancakes slowly dying down a little bit, of course. Now remember the top 15 score points here in TPS, so as it stands, Bobbitt's in a really reasonably good position at the moment for CRT to get some points and well-earned points, and they're going to really need them as well. Of course, they're battling out at the moment with Artemis down in 15th and 17th respectively, only 1 point on JTO40's lips at the moment. Venom trying to gain a little bit of traction here, and that little bit of a battle! Oh my goodness me!
Oh.
A horrendous incident involving RP1 Noctis and Rev Caterpillar down the straight. The safety car is out straight away as a result of that particular incident. Looks like they were just banging wheels, and an awful incident involving them 2 drivers. They're at the back in 18th and 19th place respectively. That is not what you want to see.
Yeah, an absolutely horrific accident there between Rev Caterpillar and RP1 Noctis. Unfortunately, that does mean Noctis is out of the race for Roleplay 1. They've got a driver flying high in Montoya. He has lost 1 position, though, unfortunately for him, but it means Noctis out of the race. Unfortunate for him and unfortunate for Rev as well. I believe he might have picked up some damage there. I'd be surprised if he didn't yet. He's lost a whole entire front wing. So it's a full course safety car brought out tonight in lap 4 round Monza. Hopefully we don't see too many safety cars tonight and we see clean racing throughout. Obviously, I'm not sure what happened there. Just looking on the YouTube screen was quite laggy, I cannot lie. Between the 2 drivers, so hopefully it is not that case of, desync coming back into the game where, they might not have even been side by side on each other's screens, but it has unfortunately caused for this incident to occur. And I guess at the moment, you just have to look at the biggest losers at the moment. LCR Leopard down 3 positions at the moment. Rev Caterpillar obviously losing out 4 positions there after his crash. PSR Nick down 8 after a spin. And JTO40 down 5 positions from P8 there. But still bringing in points if the race was to end after lap 4. But we do have 27 laps of racing. We don't have a 3-hour stop clock like they do in for real life F1. You don't have to go to sleep for a couple of hours for the race to restart. For racing action will continue at the combination of this safety car, and you will be able to watch multiple laps of exquisite racing action around the Paradox Series, around Monza. If you are new to the Paradox Series, where the hell have you been for the opening few rounds? We are nearly entering the mid part of our season. After 1 transfer window, we are upcoming to a 2nd transfer window in a couple of weeks' time. And if you are new to the channel and the YouTube channel, feel free to give us a subscribe. It is really helpful to us lot over at the Paradox Series, and as always, it will be greatly appreciated.
About 5 of 27 then, we're behind the safety cars. We just see Rev Caterpillar leave the pit lane. He is on a set of soft tyres, so he's trying to do the 2-stop. Try and match with everyone else in front, but of course, the soft tyres will fall off a cliff a lot quicker, but he's going to be considerably faster versus everyone else. And of course, he'll be trying to match the pit stop of those on the hard tyres, so it's a free pit stop and an opportunity, you'd have to say, to try and gain track positions that he lost in that awful collision with RP1 Noctis. Now, Noctis went straight into the driver's chat on Discord, and I must admit I did have to step in very briefly to say, look, from our end, the desync looked pretty horrendous, and how the cars behaved in that crash down a straight did not look normal. And a lot of drivers in the chat saying that was awful, to put it bluntly. It was an awful incident, but I have to say it looked very much to me as if we were in a spot above as regards a desync, which, if that is the case, boo-hoo, and a big boo indeed to the Codemasters developers here, as Rev Caterpillar taking it very slowly as he comes back into the pit lane to come off of the soft tyres to move probably onto another set of hard tyres, or the same set of hard tyres to the end of this race, which would be an alternative strategy. If he does go onto the same set of hard tyres, we'll see. He comes in and it is the same set of hard tyres, so he is now wanting to go to the end of this race, but you know, he could have potentially taken the soft tyres to the end of the hard tyre stint in front of him and matched them on strategy, but he's hoping that these hard tyres will go now to the end of this race, and he's hoping that as a result, he'll match everyone with pace, everyone will pit, and he'll just take the victory. So either strategy will work.
Yeah, I mean, it is a confusing one for Rev Caterpillar. Obviously, for impact of the DRS trains around Monza are detrimental and, really massive. I don't know whether safety car could get called in this lap because, 17 of the 18 drivers are bunched together, and, it is only Rev who has taken an extra pit stop for his strategy, just to do this. Now, with the DRS train point that I was getting at before I sidetracked myself, he could have gone onto those soft tyres, blitzed through the field using those soft tyre advantage, and as you said, he could have come off the softs at the end of a hard tyre stint potentially, and just gone onto a set of mediums, completing the dry tyre rainbow compounds for the evening. But no, he's elected to go onto the hard, so he is aligned with all the different guys as ESV Bobberts is coming into the pits. So whether that's for damage, I do not know. It might just be coming in for a set of medium tyres. It does look as so, a set of medium tyres there for ESV Bobberts. I'm not sure 20 laps will be able to do that, as Hoops Up Grunty's in for pits as well for Artemis. He's going on to the mediums as well. So Rev has undercut two drivers there under safety car conditions, and he's back up into P16. But Bobberts and Grunty taking a very surprising strategy and going on to the medium tyres.
Just having a quick look in the chat at the moment, obviously, while George was talking. Mr. Caesar saying, what was that? Well, an awful incident, to put it bluntly, which has brought the safety car out. Lap 7 of 27, 20 laps to go. Zach Nanny in the chat also saying the Alpine lagged in the AlphaTauri. It did look like that, to be fair, Zach. I must admit, he makes a bold claim and a hill I'd probably die on, actually, in fairness. It's a little bit of a weird one here. It's Callum G, the OG of the commentary chat as well. Now, I miss you very much, buddy. I hope you're doing well. McCabe Sam Jam Pancakes Masterclass, absolutely. The Haas drivers in the St. George Esports team flying very well, actually, at the moment, 7th and 9th place, respectively. Could we get the ERS, please? I don't think it really matters at this point now, doesn't it? Because everyone's going to be fully charged batteries with the safety car now coming in at the end of this lap. Grunty and Bobberts in a bit of a prime position here. They've got fresh medium tyres that are going to be nice and hot as they join at the back of this queue, whilst those on the hard tyres may have a little bit of time to try and warm these tyres up. Yeah, they're going to be reasonably fresh, but they are hard tyres, and because they're fresher, they may even take longer to warm up. So this is going to be a peculiar scenario as Williams just weaving left and right, holding everyone up. Of course, they can't go just yet. The safety car still just heading out of Parabolica at the moment is the Aston Martin virtual burnt Mindlander as they now head into the pit lane. And Scyther has set off, and he set off quite early, actually, just before Curva Parabolica, and he absolutely has caught FRA napping as he comes across the line. We go green again here in Monza, and Scyther has caught him so far napping. He's now nearly a second already over the pair of them because Smokey and Matthew are battling hard. Here they go into the Retifilio chicane. Later on the brakes for the car on the outside line. Little nudge of wheels, and that's a big spin out involving ETA and LCR Leopard down in 17th place. Awful incident. JT, 5-second penalty for corner cutting, trying to avoid that incident, I imagine. As Scyther is now pulling well ahead, 1.6 seconds. Phoenix, 10-second penalty for cutting track limits. I hope that's not what I think it's going to be, as they keep in all that pressure here. Quantum battling hard into this pressure here. They're going to keep battling here as they head through De La Rogier chicane, as Venom is trying to battle off an attack from FRA. Stokes, who makes a move around the outside, heading through the Lesmo into P10 for the FRA driver. Peculiar scenario happening here. ETA actually earning big time at the moment in 8th place, but it looks like he's going to give the position up with some severe front wing damage. AEM JTO 40 now up to 8th place. Amine up to 11th as Venom is hemorrhaging positions because he's given them up after that awful incident here going into the first corner, and that is the Retifilio chicane. As to be expected, it is a very big hotspot and a bunch of drivers all making mistakes. Here comes PSR Nick down in 15th place, effectively pushing Rev Caterpillar around as his his Alpine not looking very clean, shall we say, in the form of the connection. Maybe some issues falling on Rev Caterpillar's side, or maybe it's just me, who knows. Quantum in the pit lane. Here comes Nick then trying to get the move done early as he possibly can to avoid another collision as to what happened between Rev Caterpillar and of course the RP1 driver of Noctis. The move, it looks like it's a little bit cleaner. He goes into 12th. He's going to go around the outside to try and hold on his Rev Caterpillar, and he's still in that prime position here, but he's not going to have the traction because Nick certainly got it up to 12th. And look at Grunty also trying to get in the mix as well around the outside line on the grass ever so slightly, on the medium tyre as well, remember, so he does want to try and get get some inroads here, and he is trying to push as hard as he can, overtake B&U's, and he's going to have the inside line going into the De La Rozier chicane, and that move is done very, very late on the brakes and almost catching the Williams. I don't know how they didn't collide there. Very well taken from Nick to try and avoid that collision, but the move is still done. 13th place. Rev Caterpillar trying to go around the outside of the Lesmo. This might not work if he's not given the space. He's still going to have the traction around the outside, but the inside is where you want to be, and he holds on. Grunty 3-second penalty, and he didn't get the best traction either, and here comes Rev Caterpillar still applying the pressure down the outside line, and they're still side by side heading into Ascari, but then it looks like he's going to hold off and stays in 14th place. Grunty up to 13th. Good move, but he's going to have a little bit of a tag slapper through there as well. Rev Caterpillar still applying the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant racing going on between Rev Caterpillar and HSR Grunty. Penalties flying absolutely everywhere after First Chicane's DRS has been enabled. And McCabe Sam with a 5-second penalty, JT with a 5-second penalty, and unfortunately Phoenix with that 10-second penalty. So I really could not tell you what's going on now. All I can tell you is that the legitimate time penalties have fallen to Amine and Grunty, both picking up 3-second time penalties for their off-track excursions. Rev Caterpillar, he's going to send it down the inside of HSR Grunty there, but Grunty is able to break later there. And meanwhile, LCR Leopard, he's going to try battle with Rev Caterpillar. He's got the outside line, round a curve grande we go. Is he going to do two drivers in one here? Is he going to be able to get HSR Grunty here? He's going to try it. It's for Team Shizou driver, but Grunty, he goes round the outside, and I don't know what's going on there. What on earth is that connection? And LCR Leopard is round. So I have no idea what has happened there, but I don't know, because it's the second incident tonight involving Rev Caterpillar, and that was unfortunate connection issues yet again. I cannot really describe it with words as to what has gone on there.
I am starting to get a little bit wound up, and it's very difficult as a commentator, because when you get a bear witness to incidents such as that, you're in a predicament where you want to try and be as impartial and as clean and as fair as you can to all of the people that are involved in not just making the game, racing the game, but also developing the game. Unfortunately, I'm really starting to get very tired of the franchise that we all know and love being absolutely decimated over a period of a few years, and unfortunately this is no longer an issue involving people's internet connections. Otherwise we would have seen this throughout the season. Unfortunately this is desync, and the desync issues are becoming extremely prominent, and I fear for a lot of leagues such as TPS and such as the very other smaller leagues around this as well that are going to get decimated by the attendance of drivers that just simply cannot be bothered to continue racing in league racing when the game is in this state. And it is bitterly disappointing that we have to unfortunately continue bringing coverage at a platform that is just really not at its best. Let's be perfectly candid. 16 laps to go. We're following ESV Bobbert, for CRT, and he's trying to race with JTO40 and himself got a time penalty at the moment, who's just in close proximity to the Haas St. George Esports driver of Jam Pancakes, who himself just racing with Montoya, having a really good race and a good sort of tournament so far as Montoya. As Scyther has made an atrocious mistake. It looks like, oh no, and now he's back towards the front again. And this is the exact point, as I am really starting to get frustrated with what we are witnessing as a platform. I am so sorry that I have to be the commentator of a race that is just bringing this level of coverage. This is not TPS's fault. We bring the best we can. It's just an unfortunate scenario that our platform is leading us down this path.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to describe that, because it's shocking, it's horrific. You can use any adjective under the sun to describe the state of this game at the moment, and it will not be a positive one, let me tell you that, to be perfectly blunt about the situation. We will attempt to commentate to the best of our ability for the remaining 15 laps of this race, and I mean, despite the issues, it's been a very entertaining race thus far, and that is a credit to the drivers that are driving.
Absolutely.
But you know, this game is becoming more and more unreliable. It's becoming, you know, not choose any expletives, but you can picture you can picture, you know, a number 2 being done on this game at the moment, to put it in light terms. But it's so terrible to see, because I feel like the majority of the community, they spawned the first coronavirus lockdown when, you know, we were all bored, we wanted something to play, we wanted something to have fun with our friends, and, you know, we eventually discovered esports, and, you know, it's all brilliant, it's all fun and games we had we got the pleasure of this being the second season of the Paradox series, with the first being a great success on the F1 2021 game. With 3 separate tiers. Now we've got 1 separate tier on the F1 2022 game. Meanwhile, Ephraim Matthew there just getting past VSR Smokey. It really makes you think whether we're going to see a season 3 of TPS. And I would love for there to be one, but I feel like the owners, PSR Buraps, PSR Wextro and Oliver Loveland, they will be thinking tonight, if they are watching the stream, and thinking, what's the point of running another season if the game is just going to be in this absolutely horrific state? Because that's the second incident tonight involving Rev Caterpillar's connection, and it's the issue that has been in this game for ages, about player-to-player connection. It just doesn't work. We're running on an outdated database. We're running on a database where, Codemasters are somewhat getting away with heinous acts of just adding in past tracks that they still had on the database, and are just able to pass it off as DLC. Like, oh look, we put China into the game. No, you didn't. It was in for last game, and it's just so frustrating to me that we have to contend with, oh look, a new McLaren livery. And that does nothing to enhance the performance of the game. Wheel glitches, connection issues, everything that is going wrong with this game is going wrong tonight. We had to restart because of McCabe Sam's wheel glitching out. That's another issue to do with the game, and I won't even bother going into it because I'm quite frankly had enough. But I'm going to put all my moaning behind me. That's all my moaning done. I'm going to be positive Brett for the remaining laps of the races. Rev Caterpillar there, just getting past HSR Grunty.
Yeah, you were trying your best to try and keep as positive as you can as one of your drivers just gets overtaken for P13. As Grunty unfortunately overtaken by Rev Caterpillar, and Rev Caterpillar obviously continues on his coverage, as we've just got people in the chat as well. Jack Taylor in there just saying this desync is getting worse. It's desync then followed by bad desync, which is not going to be tricky. Connor Robinson, we will see season 3. It's not that bad, is it? Really not that bad. Well, bear witness to what you're seeing here. Just on the spectator mode on its own, I am now seeing full red line glitches all the way up to 8th gear, which might only seem cosmetic, but these are all little issues that just build and build to the frustration of the unfortunate situation that all of these drivers are in. We've got people not able to use their wheels correctly, some people not able to use their setups. At one point you could change your setups anyway because of course Parc Ferme had been turned off and they'd only just managed to repair it in the last patch. It's lap 14 of 27 anyway. We'll continue on with what we've got ahead of us, and as it stands at the moment, Scyther is really starting to run riot. 2 seconds in front of Ephraim Matthew, of course, was racing with WR Smokey, but started to lose a little bit of pace now has the Ferrari, and that is a situation I'm sure these drivers will be keeping a very firm eye on as regards of tyre degradation. Bobbert's in a good position, 8 laps on the medium tyre, 8th position for him, as he tries to close down the gap and now on some hard tyre runners that are really beginning to struggle now, perhaps with tyre degradation. Some people already coming in, Stonks and Nick, early pit stops for them as they may be the first people to trigger the first stop of the first situation of pit stop, shall we say, for those drivers. Smokey slowly gaining a little bit of time though on Matthew on this particular occasion. Wilson just huggling back in 4th place at the moment. McCabe Sam on his own in 5th at the moment, 1.8 seconds behind Montoya. Slowly but surely starting to give him a little bit of trouble. 12 laps to go.
Yeah, drivers really trying to trigger that early undercut now on those medium tyres, and you have to say, looking at the progress of BSB Bobbitt on that safety car restart in comparison to now, up a plethora of positions, and it shows his really impressive racecraft overall. He is like for likes of LCR Leopard, he is a very experienced driver on the Xbox scene, is Bobbitt, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that he has very good racecraft and the ability to get up a load of positions, but that's a Red Bull off track. It is his teammate, CRT Phoenix, Ephraim Matthew, with a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Everyone is jumping into the pits now. AMJT with a 5-second penalty as well for speeding into the pit lane. So that makes it 10 seconds worth of penalties for him, unless he gets a 5-second penalty removed after ignoring yellow flags in the pit lane. Yep, he will be serving a 5-second penalty, unfortunately for him. It means another driver, I've forgotten who the other driver with the 5-second penalty was, he will be serving their 5-second penalty in the pit lane at the moment. But as a lot of drivers come in to the pits. Let's see where PSR Nick is. He's overtaking Amine. And is he going to overtake FRA Stonks here? They are on the same strategy. They pitted the same lap. But PSR Nick is unable to get past FRA Stonks at the moment. Rev Caterpillar and HSR Grunty battling. It's been a battle for the past few laps as well. And Rev Caterpillar getting ahead of Grunty again. So Grunty obviously getting ahead somewhere. But not being able to keep the position that time around. We will keep on board with the likes of Cypher, who has extended his medium stint. RP1 Noctis has left the session. He has DNF'd. He is the only casualty of this race thus far in terms of DNFing, and he's just left the session. Now Cypher continue on for another lap, but VSR Smokey, his closest rival, is coming into pit lane, making sure not to speed in pit lane like his teammate Matthew did. Jam Pancakes into a pit as well. ESV Bobbits on those mediums. He is P2 at the moment. Will he pit at the same rate as for medium, for hard runner of Cypher, should I say? Grunty in P3 there. Don't mind me, I'm just going to take a screenshot of an Artemis driver in P3 because it's what the crowd love to see. I can't lie. It's what everyone's wanted. PSR Nick taking the fastest lap there for Paradox Sim Racing, P11 at the moment, but he's going to try and make it P10 here. If he dives down the inside, he's going to make it close for him against Stonks, but he doesn't get the position at the moment. Stonks with an absolutely masterclass in defending position at the moment. And Montoya against Jam Pancakes on those new hot medium tyres for Jam Pancakes. Is RP1 Montoya going to send it down the inside?
Bad.
He's trying to, but that is tyre bagging from both drivers, and Montoya gets past. Stonks gets past Jam Pancakes as well, but a little bit of tyre bagging. PSR Nick, he's going to try and get past Jam Pancakes as well, as he has the inside line into the Lesbo, and that is unfortunate contact between the two drivers.
Amine nearly getting into a little bit of a tussle with him as well. I feel a bit sorry there for Jam Pancakes. In fairness, Montoya was looking for the gap and then mounted the sausage curb, which sent his car into what would seem to be like a bit of a dive bomb, quite literally, like a bird going into the sea to collect his food. Ends up putting it into the sidewall of the Haas, and as a result of that one, lost all of that time, all of those positions, and then it's very difficult to race around here in general anyway, never mind through the Lesmos. And it doesn't surprise me that Jam Pancakes, unfortunately, now relegated down to 13th place. People in the chat, more specifically Jack Taylor, saying Bobbits has done a masterclass strategy here. 11-lap-old medium tyres now for the Red Bull as he tries to get to the end of this race. He's going to be taking him 20 laps. He's 9 seconds in front of Grunty. He's also in front of that, 15 seconds in front of LCR Leopard, whilst FRA Matthew is now the leading driver, because him and Cypher have got into a little bit of a challenge as Cypher tried to commit to the overcut, and it's not worked at all. Those medium tyres are very cold, and Matthew, as a result, has been able to make the overtake. He's now got to try and chase down the likes of Grunty and Bobbits, and they have every right to race with them as well. They don't need to pit, as far as I'm concerned. So Bobbits is in a very peculiar position here. He just needs to keep consistent lap times coming in. He's not going to be faster than Matthew, Cypher and Smokey, but if he keeps consistency coming in, that 15-second gap might just be enough to take CRT's first victory of tonight, first victory of this tournament, which would be some really, really, really big points that they absolutely need, of course, because they are racing with the likes of Artemis themselves in second with Grunty, and JTO40 obviously trying to race back up the grid after making their first pit stop in 16th place at the moment. The only issue is Grunty, of course, has that time penalty, but so does Matthew, and Cypher will be very happy to say, well, you know what, I'll use your toe and stay in front because I'm going to finish in front of you anyway.
See, is a thing I would love. I would love for Grunty to get a podium. I would love for this strategy to work, but I just cannot see 20 laps on the mediums. I know that Grunty is running very low tyre pressures this evening, and it would be an incredible debut for him in terms of no assists. In TPS if he was to get a podium on his first race, but unfortunately I'm going to be a bit of a pessimist here and say that those medium tyres won't be able to make it until the end. HSR Mine there taking up another 3-second time penalty. I believe that's his second of the evening. Yes, it is. and it, unfortunately for AMJTO40, after his first pit stop, picking up another 5-second penalty. He had a 5-second penalty for corner cutting after, for instance, at the first chicane of the safety car restart. I'm sure some clips will be sent into the steward's room because it looked like a hell of a lot of dive bombs, to say the least, to put it bluntly, might I add. So, be interested to see how that goes at the end of the race. Grunty, yep, he is coming back into pit, so me being a pessimist has paid off for once. But for Bobbert, it's a different story for him, because I feel like he will want to try and go until the end. His tyres may not like it, but he may want to go until the end on this strategy. But Ephraim Matthew, Ephraim Matthew picking up a lovely position, overtake there on LCR Leopard. Leopard just having a bit of a twitch on the exit of the corner. Grunty coming out of the soft tyres and P17 there. And he isn't too far away from the train being led by ET8 Quantum at the moment, which JT, Venom and Quantum and Red Caterpillar are all a part of at the moment, as Red Caterpillar gets above AMJT there. So another overtake for Rev as he tries to bounce back from his early collision. PSR Nick and F-Ray Stonks battling out of the first Lesmo, should I say, with Nick getting for position on Stonks. Maybe opportunistic overtake. Cypher overtaking LCR Leopard there into Ascari. So the hard runner of LCR Leopard, he's falling behind very quickly here, and he will have to pit off those hard tyres, as he's yet to pit in this race, and he might fall to the back of the grid, I can't lie, because if Grunty was ahead of him, and, you know, he's come out P17, he's going to pit, and he's going to be nearly dead last here as LCR Leopard, as he does come into a pit lane now. VSR Wilson with the fastest lap of the race, trying to catch up to the likes of Cypher and Matthew. But Bobberts, he's just running his own race at the moment. Let's not, you know, discredit Bobberts. He is just going to try and make his strategy work, the impossible strategy work. Shazoo Venom there picking up a 5-second penalty for speeding into a pit lane, unfortunately for him. And yeah, as I mentioned, LCR Leopard, he's fallen right to the back of the grid here, P16 for him, as he is quite a way off of HSR Grunty. But on raw pace, you would say that LCR Leopard, the WR Tier 1 legend for experienced man, it is Matthew with a 3-second time penalty, making it 8 seconds for him. But with Leopard, he has the better raw pace in comparison to Grunty, I feel, plus the lack of that penalty as well. It'll be an interesting final few laps to see how it unfolds for drivers with penalties.
Yeah, situation report for FRA Matthew is not good. There's a bunch of drivers all in a little train behind him as well, and he's going to fall off of the podium as far as P5 as it stands. And if Nick puts a shift in, he might end up claiming a position himself here with that 8 seconds worth of penalties on his name. Either way, Bobberts is in a really good position here with those 8 seconds on Matthew's name. If he does get close, he'll still gain a position off of him as it stands. Just having a quick look at the tyre wear situation, 45% is the most worn tyre that I see on my screen at the moment for Bobberts, now 46 as he comes out of there. So the rear tyres are now starting to get a little bit out of shape at the moment for Bobberts. So it is now going to be a tyre management situation. I expect he's probably going to be into the 60s, maybe even the 70s by the end of this race. But he has been doing a lot of tyre management as he's been losing time incrementally versus Matthew. So he's been keeping it as consistent as he possibly can. And his lap times have all been in sort of close proximity as well, within around about a tenth or two of every lap that he does. So Bobbert's actually flying quite well at the moment for CRT and just looking out for his own. But it's all about how much time he's going to lose when those tyres eventually fall off. And if they fall off the cliff, he's going to be in a real spot of bother. Either way, Scyther just keeping within touching distance of Matthew, but he knows he doesn't have to race with him, and he's not going to force the issue. As it stands, he's going to be the dark horse for this race victory tonight, because Bobberts is just holding his own, whereas when he comes across the line, there will be 5 laps to the end of this race. CRT are going to be almost salivating at this opportunity for a backmarker to win a Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think the last thing that Bobberts wants at the moment is a safety car. If he does get a safety car, he'd want it as he's coming round Parabolica, so he can just whack a set of soft tyres on for a little sprint race at the end. But he won't be wanting a safety car anytime soon. He has that 8.5 second gap, and even if he just goes a second slower per lap, he has this in the bag for Continental Racing Team. And as you mentioned, it will be absolutely incredible story. We have seen underdog winners in the past, Daniel Ricciardo in 2021, Pierre Gasly in 2020 for the AlphaTauri team, picking up an unlikely win. Monza is the home of unlikely winners, ladies and gentlemen. It's also the home of Ferrari winning, but I've used that stat one too many times this evening, so I won't bore you with it anymore. But for ESV Bobberts to win tonight, it would be a TPS wonder story. It'd be a story that would, give some faith, a shining light on the community in troubling times when it comes to the games. And obviously, we touched upon the issue of beer and kebab earlier on in the stream. It would be a really nice story to come out of the F1 community if Bobberts was to pick up the win tonight. But nothing is set in stone, unfortunately, yet. It is lap 23 of 27. Make that lap 24 of 27. As Bobberts, he will only have around 12 miles of racing track left to conquer, and he's got to hope that his tyres give him the strength. No punctures for him. Meanwhile, there is a battle on track. It's Rev Caterpillar and ET8 Quantum coming out to the Parabolica turn 11. What can Quantum do to defend from Rev Caterpillar? He's got JT and Grunty right behind him as well for two Artemis drivers.
JT though, look at this.
Yeah, JT's got the pace. Can he make the overtake on Rev Caterpillar? But Rev Caterpillar...
No!
That is not what you'd like to see. That is so unfortunate for Rev Caterpillar there, and that has resulted in a collision between him and ET8 Quantum. It obviously does promote
spin out for Nick.
For two AM drivers, but Pierce on Nick has gone off, and that's Jam
Pancakes. Oh no! That's awful! Oh, that's an awful incident.
That's touring Jam Pancakes. And that is unfortunate collision, and that is the late safety car that we were on about, that Bobberts didn't need. He is coming up to Parabolica now, so he might jump onto those soft tyres, but that is so unfortunate, and you cannot believe that has just happened.
Soft tyres are going to be going on now for CRT. They're going to be diving into the pit lane in the hope that they don't get caught up here. I think he's just got enough time to avoid any kind of situation of being caught up in the pit lane. Soft tyres straight on, straight out, and get behind the safety car. And pardon me, I'm not trying to show bias here. I always love a little underdog victory, as the red tyres are now going on the Red Bull, and he's just out in front of the McLaren to avoid any kind of lock up there from any driver just blocking him from exiting. Scyther will now come out of the pit lane, and will come out of the pit lane, and we do have drivers who have elected to stay out. FRA Stonks has decided to stay out. Sam McCabe also staying out. Bobberts will now come at the back of the pack in third place behind these guys, but on fresh soft tyres. He'll be very keen to get some inroads done and try and take CRT's first victory of this tournament, as people are going to be keeping an eye out in the chat, as people are not going to be happy at all with the situation involving those midfield runners. Both Roleplay 1 drivers out of the race. Jam Pancakes without a front wing will pit for a set of soft tyres. Let's take a look at the tyre situation. There it is. Everyone moving over to a set of soft tyres, except those that, of course, who pitted earlier on. Grunty stays out on 5-lap-old softs. Leopard will stay out on 4-lap-old softs. Venom does pit now for a fresh set of soft tyres, but McCabe, Sam and FRA Stonks will hope that their medium tyres will go the distance in regards of pace, but those soft tyres on Bobberts' car, including Scyther and Smokey, are all going to be wanting to race hard for this victory. Now, the safety car will come in no later, I believe, than the end of this lap, if I remember correctly. So those towards the back may not even get the opportunity, and there it is. So the safety car is coming in, which means everyone towards the back now are going to try and chase the queue to try and get involved in this one here. So it is going to be a 2-lap sprint to the end of this race. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what the midfield runners are going to do. AEM are in a good position with those 5-lap-old soft tyres to try and get some points here, but they've got to fend off some rampant attacks from FRA Shazoo and VSR. HSR Amine looking very, very strong for Novus here tonight, as Rev Caterpillar 3-second penalty for cutting corners, and that, to be fair, is trying to gain at the back of this grid here. So Stonks is going to leave it until the last minute here, as he will now set off, and he's caught McCabe Sam napping it, but it's a tag slapper, which is going to put him under pressure. Certainly going into Retafilio. Here we go, then it's green. for this race in Monza, and he's gonna now lose a little bit of time going down the straight, but has he managed to catch him enough napping here to avoid a potential overtake? McCabe Sam immediately shuts the door to getting involved in a collision here. Here goes down the inside line, BSV Bobbers holding on, and Scyther is trying to face, but he's pushing the Haas. They say George Esports driver for making a move, and Bobbers is trying to hold him into a little corner, but he hasn't got the traction going down the straight. McCabe Sam cuts him off. VSR Smokey will be unavoidably getting into a collision if he gets into there, as he gets cut off, and Sam McCabe cuts him off, and Scyther perhaps gains a position and an advantage, but Bobbers is trying to get in there as well, and he's going to cut off Sam McCabe on the medium tyre. That's still side by side as CRT. Bobbers is holding on here for dear life. Smokey makes the move as FRA Matthew also trying to make moves. Scyther gets a 5-second penalty for cutting the corner and gaining an advantage, and that is no surprise in that little instance on this particular lap, the penultimate lap of this race. Scyther is trying to battle hard, but Scyther's got that 5-second penalty, so Bobbers is trying to hold on. Stonks is also trying to hold on. Smokey is trying to go down the inside line. This is going to be tough going through Parabolica later on the brakes. Bobbers is trying to hold on. He will have the inside line, and that move is completely taken. Now remember, no DRS of course throughout this final bit of this race, so it is all going to be about the speed down the straight and whether people have got the strategy absolutely right as regards to their setup. The Ferrari of Smokey is trying to get close. He's going to have to go around the outside, but immediately cut off, and then he tries to do the dummy, but it's not going to work on this occasion. Bobbers holds on. 5-second penalty still breathing down the neck of Scyther, remember, for cutting that corner and gaining an advantage, so he's going to end up falling down the order as a result of this one, on PSR are therefore going to have an absolute shocker out of nowhere, and that's going to allow people such as FRA to gain points that they lost perhaps at Belgium, and ESV Bobbers will try and hold on. Stonks, remember, he's on 12 lap old medium tyres, so he's trying to hold on for FRA's victory here tonight, and that would be a bold call to stay off of the soft tyres and land on the medium tyres this late. What a call indeed from Stonks if this ends up happening. Down the straight, Bobbers 3-second time penalty. That's the last thing he wanted to see for CRT, and he'll be disappointed that he's got that one in the end. Here comes Matthew down the inside line going into Ascari. This will be bold, straight down the inside line going into turn 8, and that move is now done and dusted. Going down the straight now, heading through in the Variante Ascari into Curva Parabolica. Scyther is trying to size up a move, but it's not going to work surely. FRA Stonks is going to end up getting cut up, but he's going to have that 5-second penalty to his name, Will Scyther, and that may not work. He's going to come across the line to take victory here in Italy, but it will be FRA Stonks who takes the victory in the end, with Bobbers ending in 3rd, 4th, 5th place, with WR Smokey for VSR finishing in 2nd, and out of nowhere, St. George Esports earning big points for 3rd.
Yeah, an absolutely unbelievable final 2 laps. I'll let you catch breath, John, because that was an unbelievable 2 laps of racing there. Cypher taking the win on track, but FRA Stonks taking the win for Fury Racing Association. Will we see PSR in the stewards room at the end of this race, trying to get Cypher's penalty removed? We will have to wait and see, but a brilliant race, albeit with the multiple glitches, and well, there were so many unsung battles going on there towards the end of the race, and it was just quite remarkable. I can't lie. Hearing you commentate, I didn't want to interrupt at any point because you were so in your groove, but it is a brilliant result out of nowhere for St. George's Esports, as McCabe Sam picked up a podium there for St. George's Esports. They seem to be not really in for high spots midway through that race, because, you know, they qualified 10th and 11th, but for George's Esports, they pick up a double top 10 tonight with a driver on the podium for a 2nd race running for McCabe Sam, who is leading the Drivers' Championship. But it is a shock win for FRA Stonks in for McLaren, replicating Daniel Ricciardo's win in 2021. He wins for the Fury Racing Association this evening, followed by WR Smokey for Visceral Racing. He gets P2 for Ferrari this evening. McCabe Sam picking up P3 for St. George's Esports, with VSR Wilson picking up P4. EJ Quantum from the back of the grid on his own, taking that qualifying ban, and with his teammate Oscu not showing up. P5 for Quantum, what a result for him. Roberts, the man who he thought was going to win after that audacious mediums tired call, until the late safety car finishes P6 with Ephraim Matthew in P7. Cypher, who finished P1 on track, will his penalty be removed in the stewards? We will have to find out. It is P8 for the American. It's P9 for Jam Pancakes. For Englishman putting in another stellar performance this evening, just driving his own race. It's our Nick running out for top 10 for Paradox Sim Racing, with LCR Leopard taking P11 for Team Shazoo in a race where he was in for wars. AMJT picking up P12 this evening, some good points for Team Artemis, whilst Novus Racing pick up 13th and 14th this evening with Rev and Amine, with HSR Grunty picking up the final points paying position in P15. CRT Phoenix finishing P16 with Shazoo Venom staying in his position P17. The two RP1 drivers being for only 2 casualties this evening, not Montoya and Noctis, for 2 drivers to not finish.
It was indeed a very, very intense race, to put it bluntly, and it is one of the races that I think the drivers are going to be sort of looking back on with fond memories. I'm sure a lot of the drivers out there will be very happy to hear their final results. Now PSR are looking like they're going to be appealing the situation with Scyther. Scyther absolutely firmly believes that he did not in the slightest, cut the corner meaningfully. He ended up getting pushed off, he says. So that will all be, I'm sure, fully rectified if you keep an eye on our Twitter at TPS_F1. With that, though, we are now finished at Monza, and we'll be back in a week's time in Austria when we are racing at the Red Bull Ring. So I do hope that you enjoyed this stream. Feel free to tune in with us next week as we race around the hills of Spielberg. Thanks for watching. It's myself, Jota and Brett, wishing you a very good night.
Thank you.